Alright, let's do one more. Or at least, we'll do one more if this is another 9-match deck. Maybe we'll do more than one more if we actually start losing. I'm assuming day 2 will probably be best of 3. I believe that it was historically. Day 2, they might be doing the 2 drafts with pods thing. Like the scheduled 2 drafts. I don't know. Alright, so here we have Wrath, Elspeth, Warden. Dragon Master Outcast does not seem like a incredibly exciting card. I don't really like Dragon Rage Channeler. Don't really want to play blue. So I think we're taking a white card. I kind of think that I want to take History of Benalia here. I kind of want to lead into being aggressive if we're going to be in white. Like, hypothetically, we could take Day of Judgment and then try to do grindy things, but not playing to the board seems slightly hard from what I've seen. History doesn't go in as many decks as Elspeth or Sanctuary Warden. No, but if I'm going to be in white, I think that I'm going to try to bias towards being an aggressive deck. But I do agree that from a non-aggressive standpoint, those other 2 cards are more mid-rangey. And this one's interesting. Llanowar Elf is by far the strongest card here. What about Once Upon? I don't think Once Upon a Time is a very good card. Like, in general, but especially in Limited. So, there's a couple of choices. Mutavault in mono white, Bastion for white black. AO is probably weaker than Mutavault if we were trying to do mono white stuff. Or Llanowar Elf just as the strongest card that doesn't necessarily go super well with history. I think I would normally take Llanowar Elf here. I think that's the most correct pick. I'm going to take Mutavault. I don't think that's right, but I do think that it provides me with educational value. Maybe. Take the 2-drop, I guess? Oh, right. Yeah, Adeline is like literally, aside from perhaps just a pile of aggressive 1-drops, one of the best things I could ask for. Happy to have a Thraben Inspector. Alright, this is starting to come together. Now we just need to wait for the wheels to fall off. But yeah, History of Benalia into the Bastion was actually the other kind of combo that was on my mind and seemed interesting and possibly worth going into. There's another amazing white 1-drop. Alright, are you a knight? You have the word knight in your name, so it'd be weird if you didn't have the name or the word knight in your creature type. We got soldiers, knights, and nobles. You're a soldier, right? No, you're a knight? Oh, wow. Radical. I think if we end up splashing black, I'd rather have a Heartless Act than Jadar. Man, a tithe. What is this? Oh. Huh. That's a cool card design. Turn a land into 2 creature lands? So it's ramp and threat? I do not want to play Mana Tithe, but there are no other options here. Oh, every white card? Ouch. Field of Ruin seems pretty bad. If we end up in white-black, I think Life of Toshiro is actually the thing that I most want here. I think it's stronger than Acquisitions Expert. Still don't really think that I'm in white-black enough to grab the Woe Strider. I don't really want AO, but it's a card that goes in a deck. Do we have any synergy with Conclave Mentor? We have Benelish Night Counselor. If we end up in green-white. Is there any chance we play Pilgrim's Eye? I'm assuming there isn't. So we'll snag the Conclave Mentor for the sideboard. Yeah, Mana Tithe is not a card that I would play in mono white. It's not a card that I would play in much of anything at all. There's no way I want to play Birth of Meletus. There's no way I can make a curve that fits Obosh. But I'm going to take Obosh in case we pivot into red-white Obosh. Mana Tithe is a good card. I'm skeptical. Oh, this is weird. Unbreakable Formation is like an amazing card in green-white, or we could take the green-white land. If we end up in mono-white, Unbreakable Formation might actually get played. So we'll take that. I don't really want to play Lyra, but I will take a card that can fill my curve out if I somehow don't end up with enough playables. Wow. Kitty Cat Freed. What did I auto-pick? Shivan Reef. Was that it? I think that was it. So we'd have Kabira's Takedown, or Oketra's Monument, or Yorion, but I don't think this is a deck that really wants Yorion, although we have Thraven Inspector, Charming Prince, History Benalia. We have some synergies. I think we just take Oketra's Monument. Makes the AO and the Lyra less bad. Weirdly enough, we are not actually that far away from Obosh. Especially because if we end up in red, there's a lot of 1-drops in red and not a lot of 2-drops. And Thraben Inspector synergizes with Obosh because it's a 1-drop and a 2-drop. I don't really want more 3-drops, although Reclamation Sage isn't awful. But I'm pretty sure Patriarch's Humiliation's just like a pretty fine removal spell in white. Retrofitter Foundry... I don't know enough about what that card does to take it. And the rest of it seems kind of meh. I mean, Valorous Stance isn't bad, but I think it's worse than Humiliation. Cruel Celebrant would be a good pickup if we had gone for the black-white drain tokens kind of thing. But Otherwise, what are we looking at here? Not a lot. We could take a Pillar of Flame if we end up in red. Might have to be Cruel Celebrant. It's the only card that isn't, like, actively kind of medium, and then hope to wheel one of these two. I don't want to play Rafine's Tower in this deck, though. I think it's Cruel Celebrant, which kind of synergizes with Monument and History. Iola's commands, sort of interesting. Dancing Sword does not seem interesting, but I'm so short on 2-drops, and I don't need more 3-drops. Do I take the Shattered Sanctum to try to actually lean into black to fill my curve out? Or do I just take Ranger of Eos to grab 2 aggressive 1-drops? Haven't yet picked up a 1-drop that's actually like flexible removal, which is what makes Ranger better in an aggressive deck. I think I would rather speculate take the white-black land than anything else here. Portable Hole versus Benelish Marshall. I think I'm supposed to take the Benelish Marshall. It's not great if we're in red-white. But I think there's too many matchups where Portable Hole just really isn't very meaningful. Benelish Marshall doesn't really make the cut if we end up in red-white, but none of these other cards make the cut anywhere, so Rabbit Battery? Yeah, we had a very good start to white aggro for the first pack. So it's kind of amazing that we're getting cut quite this hard, because we didn't pass white aggro cards. So it's looking more and more like we're in white-black. Pretty sure Invoke Justice is not good, but I don't know. Oh, I don't think we're in mid-range if we're in white-black. I think we're still solidly white-black aggro. I think we're a Karuga deck. Inscription of Ruins might not be completely horrible. It's probably not a card I want to play, though. Hourglass Coven is real strong. We did pick up at least one white-black duel already. And aside from Benelish Marshall, which isn't really a card we need to play on curve, our mana isn't terrible. I would take a white-black duel over Hourglass Coven, but I don't think that I take Seal Away over Hourglass Coven. I don't want to play a 6-drop in aggro, but this card's kind of busted. And Seal Away doesn't remove blockers. Oh. Luminarch Aspirant unnerfed versus Maul of the Skyclaves when I already have so many 3-drops. Harsh game. We're gonna hope we wheel that Maul. Ooh, sweet. We get a 1-drop. Alright, we're back in the direction where this is actually going well. Take a 2-mana lifelinker. I would rather take Caves over Macaeus here. I don't think Gix is very good for this deck. We are building this in a way that is very much aggro, not mid-range. With the way our existing cards lean. Ooh, get an Adanto Vanguard, very happy about that. Legion's Landing, Priest the Fellrights, Felidar Retreat. Probably just has to be Legion's Landing. That's an engine. Spellbinder's good. That's a whole lot of nothing at all. Bully somebody who wants lands. What do we cut? Probably the Lyra. And then we'll have to think about it. Oh, the small came back. Oh, we're doing it. I don't know what happened to Unpack 2, but now we're doing it again. Yeah, at this point, our deck came together enough that I think I'm willing to cut the Hourglass Coven again. Can we play mono white? We're close to it. We'll have to consider that. Now we're closer to it. What's my fixing like for Showdown of the Scalds? That might be better than like every black card. I have a Needleverge Pathway. I think it's Macaeus, who is in reality a 2-drop. Yeah, at this point it's becoming pretty unlikely that the Black Splash is worth the mana consideration. We just have enough density of very good cards in white that we don't need to bother. That's 18, 17, so that's just 17. Although Phyrexian Missionary becomes a little weaker at that point. So I suppose if we ran this, we probably would play this Caves in the Sanctum anyway. I don't really want to play this as a 17-land deck is the thing. So we're like 2 cards short of me actually being excited to play this as monocolored. Is Invoke Justice playable? I don't really think so, because we don't have anything meaningful to reanimate. I mean, I guess it is 4 power with haste. Provided there's anything in the graveyard. Given our mana base actually supports it, maybe this is playable. But cutting a land to go down to 16 to bring in the 5-drop is certainly a weird style. Regrettably, I think that I am just forced to play Mana Tithe here. 4 power with haste and bring back Lyra. Yeah, but that means like we have to have Lyra in the graveyard somehow, which would be a weird sequence of events. We'll play Coven, Celebrant, and Heartless Act over AO and Mana Tithe. Yeah, I mean, I would actually cut Lyra before AO in this deck specifically, because I think AO does a better job of racing because of the vigilance and the buffing the other cards. But I agree those are all stronger cards. Specifically, the fact that we have so many 1-drops in white means that there's a really weird level of how much it costs us in consistency to not play this many untapped turn 1 white lands. Like, this deck just has to mulligan every hand where it doesn't have a plains. Meaning, like, we couldn't really keep Shattered Sanctum plus 2 swamps. Like, we'd probably go down to 10 whites, 9 whites, 10 white sources, of which 9 are turn 1 white sources to play the black cards. Yeah, we'll still play the duels, but if we played the, like, Heartless Act or Celebrant or the Life of Toshiro, then we're cutting plains for swamps, and that's what I don't want to do. Yeah, Showdown is a consideration, but again, we've only got 1 dual land that we can play for Showdown, and I want, like, 4 red sources, which still means cutting plains for mountains, and I don't think cutting any of these is worth that to me. Whoa. Stop jumping around. It might be this. Showdown's definitely the best card not in the deck, but I think the mana-based concessions we would have to make to be able to make Showdown of the Scalds playable makes every other card a small bit worse, and I think each of those small bit worses adds up enough to make it not worthwhile. It's pretty close, though. Is Amiria's Call just a mistake? In a 16-land deck, I don't know how much to feel like that matters. It's a really small... I mean, well, not small. Sometimes it's going to cost us 3 life, and that hurts, especially for a deck that wants to curve out. But how likely are we to ever get value out of it? If we do ever flood out enough to hardcast it, it's a really big deal. I'm not that worried about Amiria's Call getting duressed. Play with 17 total? Yeah. Well, I mean, we could cut something. I don't know that I want to cut anything, though. Where the beatdown does paying 3 life matter? Sure, because there's a percentage of games where we are playing against other beatdown decks. 4 of our last 7 went wide long. Well, the context of that green deck is very, very different than the context of what kind of games this deck is going to get into. For one, I'm not entirely certain this deck has the capacity to create board stalls to the extent the green deck did. But Lyra is a card that can do that. I think we'll play it with Amiria's Call, because playing with the Amiria's Call is at least more educational than not playing with the Amiria's Call, but it might be that playing with the Plains is better here. I would be willing to believe that is the case. I'm pretty sure I submitted 16 lands, 40 cards. That was my intention. I think we did that. I don't think I submitted 41 just now. Alright. No one drop, huh? But, I mean, I guess we can mana tithe. Oh, I forgot to switch out the lands. Oh, no. Yeah, gross. We have Phyrexian Missionary against Mono Red, though. That's kind of cool. That was almost really bad. I wanted them to not play a 1-drop, but if they miss the land drop and then play a 1-drop, that works for me. Oh, no. Oh, opponent, I'm so sorry. Oh, no. Oh, no. I kind of want to play the... Oh, no, I can't play the Macaeus and then pump the Missionary next turn. Still, I don't want the Missionary to get killed. What if I just played Vanguard? No, that's no good. Alright, Missionary it is. Lifelinker developed. Lifelinker successful. We can invoke Justice onto Phyrexian Missionary, and that does not sound like a bad sequence of events at all. Okay. Lifelinker swing! 2-2 develop. Unholy Heat was not able to kill the Phyrexian Missionary for them. How deeply sad. The Etchings of Kumano, meaning that if our missionary dies, it does not go to the graveyard, is kind of a bummer. I'm really glad I attacked with the missionary. Alright, well, somehow I am now desperately hoping we draw lands in our 15 land or 16 land deck, which I've got a concern. Oh, I forgot I had to equip this and it wasn't a creature by default. I should have equipped that, probably. Ugh. Alright, well, this is still gaining life, sort of. Oh, that's gross. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I might not be able to beat that Torbrand. Interestingly, they actually got pretty... Well, no, because I could have blocked the rabbit if they hadn't equipped. That Etchings is going to mean if they have a removal spell for my missionary, I don't get to animate the sword, which means I die? So they equip rabbit, ash, pump ash, 4, 5, 6, 7. I go to 1 currently? Or I die. Dying's cool too. I would live here if they didn't have the Etchings in play. Harsh. Etching's powerful card. So even if we had hit the land, there probably wasn't a way we could have beaten that. Because even if I play the AO, that means they just have removal spell lethal for AO. Well, alright. I forgot to switch lands out again. I suck at this. Yeah, Mana Tithe hand where we're curving out and on the play. Not the situation where Mana Tithe is good, unfortunately. Would have won last game with better lands? Yeah, that's probably true. If Mana Tithe does something here, it's going to have to be on like turn 4 or 5, which might be a turn where it does something. Alternatively, if my opponent plays Kumano on turn 1, Mana Tithe might be the difference between this game being won or lost. Or if my opponent plays, I don't know, like an Esper Sentinel? Okay. Well, sometimes you play mirror matches. I'd rather gain 3. Probably would rather scry 2. Tough choice there. I'm going to assume I actually want neither of these, right? I would rather just draw 3 drops at this point in time. I like this back. These are cool sleeves. So I think we just do this and then plan to Patriarch's Humiliation the Luminarch Aspirant next turn. I was thinking with the Benelish Marshal, I would rather play like most 3 drops than the Inspector. Oh. Should be a little telling that I'm playing this pre-combat that I have a Patriarch's Humiliation. Am I going to remove anything before attacks? I'm expecting they just block Remorseful Cleric on Benelish Marshal. Oh, but that grows the Pelt Collector. That's pretty annoying. Huh. I might just have to not attack with the Benelish Marshal then. Just don't have a good attack. If they block with Cleric, then I think I'm just Patriarch's Humiliationing the Pelt Collector. Leave them with the Luminarch Aspirant? Or would I rather leave them with a 3-3 that gets bigger? I mean, Luminarch Aspirant's a 3-3 that gets bigger too. Yeah, I think we'd rather kill the Luminarch Aspirant. So score 1 for Emeria not being meaningfully different from a Plains. Ooh, that's a cool draw. Presumably that's getting blocked by Pelt Collector, unless they have a removal spell. And presumably Pelt Collector is dying. Definitely want Macaeus, who is a cool card to have in the deck for Ranger of Eos. Then would we rather have Dauntless Bodyguard or Thraben Inspector? It's going to be a long time before we can use the clue off Thraben Inspector. Whereas the Dauntless Bodyguard protecting Micaeus could immediately be a really big deal. I think we go with that. Not totally certain on that, but I think that's the way to go. Opponent hardened scales after utility. Okay. Well, Maul of the Skyclaves is definitely better than Micaeus. So that's pretty rad. It's hard to tell whether Maul of the Skyclaves or Adeline is the best white card. Alright. So, yeah, that seems good. And we need to remember to improve our deck. Alright, that should help our odds quite a bit. One drop, two drop, three drop. Sure. It's not our best one drop, but it is a honorable one drop. Opponent into Esper Foretell. Alright. I should not play Mutavault. I have a triple white card in my deck. Oh, Catcher's Monument in a Ranger Evios is kind of fun, because I get to go Ranger Evios into immediate one-drop. Mole Drifter. Oh, opponent. We're going deep into the Divination tank. I mean, to be fair, I'm being pretty slow here too, but this is not the most aggressive beginning from the mono-white aggro deck. It is, however, a pretty resilient to board wipes start. Micromancer. Okay. Fatal Push. Sure, sure. Ooh. Man, my cards look so good when they cost one less mana. We're probably not casting a creature with Ranger, and we're probably equipping the sword. Chaos. Kind of feel like the snag here is Thraben Inspector because I'm just worried about board. Well, I guess I could get indestructible creatures against board wipes. Either way. On to the pupper. If they have a board wipe, they block here pretty rapidly. I kind of feel like that makes me want to not transform the sword. With 5 mana, my next turn... Yeah, I think that I'm going to kind of keep things singularly board wipe proof. Maze Mind, not the scariest. Benalish Marshal. Alright. Spellbinder. Provide us with information. Okay. No information received. They have not had anything leave play, so... Whoa, wait. Equip onto Ranger. Should I swing with Mutavault here? into the Fatal Push. I don't actually think that I like that. So I think we're just playing Thraben Inspector post-combat. Is Doomscar in the cube? What I really want to do here is dodge Farewell. Opponent's scrying like crazy, chose not to Fatal Push. Definitely implies some board wiping in. Hey chat and Chris, just wondering with a card pool like Cube, do people play around cards much or just make them have it? You still do both. Especially once you kind of get an ingrained idea of both what cards are in the format and what style of cards are in the format. Is like, you don't necessarily need to play around the card Wrath of God. You need to play around effects that do Wrath of Gods, which kind of like narrows down specific things a little more. Settle the Wreckage is in the format. Oh, that doesn't make me happy. Still, I think we're not that far off playing around Settle the Wreckage. Or that is to say, if my opponent has Settle the Wreckage, I think I'm kind of okay with it here. That's a good sign. So that means they get to Fatal Push the Benelish Marshal. I get to block a card, probably the Ranger. And then the card I'm worried about is still Farewell, specifically. Which doesn't anybody know off the top of their head if Farewell is in the cube? I'm going to assume it is. Playing Adanto is very good against exactly Farewell. It is. Yeah. Alright, I think we're good enough against a regular board wipe that I can afford to play around Farewell by cracking the clue instead of playing Adanto. Ooh, alright. Fair enough. Languish is also a card that I get played around by not playing Adanto. That wasn't on my radar, but as far as similar style of effects go, that is a similar style of effect, like I was just talking about. Alright, we have hit 7 mana, or, well, hypothetically do if this Mutavault doesn't die anyway. How many board wipes does the opponent play? Adanto and go wide. Okay, opponent, you have a second non-destroy based removal spell. You're going back up to 8 life. That means no Farewell. That's a good sign. True that they didn't upkeep Scry, which very likely was a mistake. if they didn't have Farewell in hand, come to think of it. Baral's Expertise. Is that good enough? Yeah, because it can cast a second spell. So Baral's Expertise, bouncing Sword, pay 1, bounce Adonto, bounce Macaeus, leaves them only taking 4. Yeah, that would have been good enough to stay alive. Field K of a field F states that the subgroups of the Gallo, is that Gallo? Galois? Group G equals gallant K divided by AF. What are fields that they're being measured in gallons? The subfield L corresponds to the subgroup H. Extension left bracketing. Oh, I'm betting the left bracketing bar is it messing up some kind of formatting and not an actual part of the theorem that is about left bracketing bars. Galois? Okay. Alright. 1 drop into 2 drop. Hand is keepable. Chris, does your title mean that the Arena Open, presumably the Arena Open, will be the Arena Cube? Has that happened before? It does mean that, and I don't know if that's happened before. I think it perhaps has not. Galois was French. Okay, so I should just... There is a rule for pronouncing French words that gets you 70% of the way, 70% of the time. And the rule is that to pronounce a French word, you simply choose the last 1.5 letters and don't pronounce them. So, yeah, Galois. Opponent doing ramp stuff, so let's hope they don't chariot us, or this might get kind of difficult. That's a lot of ramping. I get the feeling I'm going to have to pay 3 life to Spellbinder. So, score 1 for Emeria costing us life, but it remains to be seen whether that will actually disadvantage us in any way. Okay, so opponent has 6 mana, going to have access to possibly 7 mana. Ulvenwald Hydra gives reach. I have no answer to Ulvenwald Hydra. Professor Onyx does stuff that doesn't matter. Alright, well, Hydra, goodbye. If they Lily and downtick, Lily goes to 2. How do I want to distribute this power? I'm going to choose to put it on the Thraben Inspector, but I have no idea if that's correct. Do we want to sack the Inspector rather than the Spellbinder? Probably do. They have a reach creature, which kind of concerns me. And they're going to get to play it next turn, too. Do I play Dancing Sword Selfless Savior? I'm probably supposed to play Oketra's Monument here so that if we hit a land drop I can play AO and then just attack into the Ulvenwald Hydra and anthem my board. Oh, did they not play the Crossroads last turn? I thought it was coming in untapped is why they didn't play it. Oh, wow. Huh. If I had realized that, I really should have probably not played the monument. It's kind of awkward that I want to put the counter on the Spellbinder, but I also sort of want to blink the Spellbinder with Charming Prince. But I don't really want to. No, I think we're just scrying 2. Yeah, as tempting as those are, I think they're actually worse than lands. Alright, time to dodge Languish. That's a Hydra. Is that good enough to matter? Doesn't feel like that matters. Yeah, opponent's doing the thing we were doing. Alright, so second blocker. That actually might matter. 5. Yeah, okay. That almost matters, except that it doesn't because of Dancing Sword. But other than the part where it doesn't matter, it almost was good enough. Alright, Dancing Sword. Looking good still. Not great, but good enough. We had lethal, but it was very, very, very close. It seems like a pretty bad hand. Is this Mulligan? It's got Mutavault. It could be worse. This seems pretty bad. I think we need to do better than that. This seems pretty good. I think this is doing better than that. I think we ship Invoke Justice here. Don't think I want lands right now. Okay. So if we attack with Charming Prince, we lose the 1/1 anyway. So do I want to try to push through 1 damage by down converting a vampire into a 1/1 that doesn't have lifelink? I think the answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, this does not transform Legion's Landing. What? No, yeah, okay. You don't want to lose the Elvish Mystic opponent. No. What? What? What am I missing here? They wanted to grow the Scavenging Ooze so much that they were willing to throw away the Elvish Mystic? I guess? That seems kind of absurd to me, but sure. Yeah, and not eating a 1/1. Yeah, a lot of that was very strange, and I don't understand it. Drawing Maul. What's the opponent up to? No matter what, if they have sorcery speed removal, or if they have instant speed removal, I'm kind of sad regardless of which of these I play. I suppose I'm less sad if I play Unbreakable Formation, because then I still get to attack with Charming Prince, but I probably should just play them all. And then the question is, what do I equip this to? And the answer to that is probably the Charming Prince, right? Transform the landing. If the opponent wants to trade off Scavenging Ooze with Adeline, they can. That costs them a rather large amount of tempo. I think transforming the Odonto and pushing through more damage is worth that. Whoa, okay. 3 color. Low cost cards. Not sure what the opponent's doing. Dauntless Bodyguard. Choosing Charming Prince. Play Unbreakable Formation. Board goes rar. Hope they don't have Settle the Wreckage. Somehow. Okay. Still good. That is basically what we want mono white to do. Yeah, Settle does cost white. So they would have needed Manamorphose Settle or something. I don't need to hope they don't have Settle the Wreckage in their hand. I need to hope they don't somehow have the ability to put Settle the Wreckage on the stack. Haven't even drawn History of Benalia. Yeah, but to be fair, I think that Adeline and Maul are both slightly better than History of Benalia. Yeah, it's got Benelish Knight Commander, or Knight Counselor, which is, I'm pretty sure, our best one-drop. If this doesn't draw lands or cards that cost less than 3 mana, we're in trouble. Gross. No, I can't really afford to trade off when I've got Benelish Marshal and Unbreakable Formation. My creature is, I think, too much better than theirs. Play a 2-drop, play a 2-drop, play a 2-drop, play a 2-drop. You can do it, opponent. I believe in you. Lightning Strike my Benelish. Don't use a 1-drop. Don't use a 1-drop. Don't use a 1-drop. Yeah, good enough for me. I got to admit, the Mana Tithe has gotten like good value every single time so far. Okay. Okay. I can handle that. I really want them to equip it to the Phoenix Chick. That's a very good sign. Alright, what are we doing here? Are we playing Unbreakable Formation and just getting in? I don't think so. I think we're just swinging with both. And then playing Charming Prince and gaining 3, which isn't the most impressive turn 4, but I think that is the life we want to live. No! My poor little 3-2. So you're saying you have another way to pump Swift Spear. Very well, I believe you. Did we not want them to chump if we enlisted? I kind of wanted to do 6 damage more than I wanted to. That was strange. Oh, because then they couldn't bluff Prowess on Swift Spear, maybe? Or couldn't hold up Prowess on Swift Spear. So if I play Unbreakable Formation, I have 2 blockers. And put them to 1. Or I can put them to 3 with 3 creatures, which makes Unbreakable Formation a lot better next turn. That's actually like a meaningfully tough choice here. I think I would rather Ranger. Let's go with Bodyguard and Savior, I guess? Alright, 3 lethal threats. Our opponent has 2 blockers. Our life total's at 14. That seems mostly comfortable. We get to play Selfless Savior and then Sorcery Speed Unbreakable Formation, which is going to be pretty hard for the opponent to answer. I mean, they can get 3 chump blockers pretty easily. Okay, yeah, just unconfigure Rabbit Battery is one way to do that. Alright, so Selfless Savior? Resolves. Bodyguard. Chooses Benelish Marshal. Cast Unbreakable Formation. Creatures get Vigilance +1/+1 and Indestructible? Swing? Hard for them to do anything meaningful in response? Okay. I stand corrected! Conceding is in fact extremely meaningful, and it can be done in response. With 2 indestructible granting creatures, I was comfortable against a 20 damage sweeper. Although I don't think their deck is very likely to play very many 20 damage sweepers. Or 3 damage sweepers for that matter. One drop? I mean, Knight Commander Martial History seems too good to not play for keeps, but the lack of 2-drop here is a little concerning. Pretty sure that I'm just trading off aggressively with the Bodyguard, given that I'm on the draw. However, being able to invoke Justice History Benalia sounds like a good time. Am I supposed to play Mutavault here? I'm not going to play Marshall on 3 anyway. My logic is I play Mutavault so that if they, have something with haste, I could block it? Why would I do that? I had no clue Blade Splicer was in this format. Was on Arena, actually, period. Oh, Mutavault's a knight! Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's so good. This is gonna be a silly turn 5. Oh, but you're a knight too. Oh shoot, is Adeline better than Benelish Marshal? I'm assuming my opponent's on Wandering Emperor here. Which I think means it's not Adeline here, because then they would just uptick on Blade Splicer. So I think we want a Benelish Marshal. They could make a 2-2 and double block, but I think we're fine with that. Oh, that's not Wandering Emperor. That's something, like, infinitely worse. So that having Indestructible is pretty annoying. But it could be more annoying. I honestly wonder if they were supposed to give the Blade Splicer Indestructible. So that way they could have gotten a block there, but... I don't know. Still, come to think of it, I actually played around the Kyodai pretty well by pre-combating the Marshal. Alright, Elspeth's rude. You have Vigilance to the Indestructible token? Gross. Oh, or they don't do that, for whatever reason. Oh, they give First Strike, because both of these have First Strike. Cute and also gross. I would like to get back history, Benalia, please. I can't really attack meaningfully here, right? Unless I want to attack in a way that loses the Benelish Marshal. I mean, I guess I kind of have to attack everything at Elspeth, don't I? If I don't, the Elspeth sticks around and keeps doing things. This lets them keep the Elspeth alive if they're willing to trade off their board, and that doesn't sound good. So I think what they have to do is let Elspeth die and double block Benelish Marshal. If we put all 4 counters on Marshal, then... What? Okay. Why didn't you kill the Marshal? Just have a different answer for the Marshal? Okay, well, I lose. I can't beat that. I'm pretty sure. They just give... They should be giving something lifelink. So I'm kind of lucky they aren't. I'm actually kind of really lucky they aren't. How do I ever get through this? I go wide enough to get there with Maccaeus? Maybe. I guess Maccaeus plus Aspirant's a combo. Oh, I could have cast Maccaeus for 0? Pretty risky if Marshall dies, though. Oh, but I could have... Yeah, oh, so I was supposed to play Maccaeus for 0 and play Selfless Savior to protect the Maccaeus. And then just put counters on Maccaeus with Luminarch Aspirant. Bodyguard is a knight, yes, but I'm not actually going to get benefits out of knights next turn because I don't think I'm going to have the ability to attack. I might have to attack, though. Still, Selfless Savior not needing to target is a pretty big deal. Plus, I also missed the Maccaeus thing, so I didn't think I was going to be able to play the knight this turn. It might have been better to grab the knight had I realized that that line was available to me. Well, they definitely weren't in our pod because they have Invoked Justice. But yeah, it is amusing that... Oh no, they had a Dauntless Bodyguard. That's right. Ooh. Missionary doesn't really get back anything relevant. This doesn't cost anything, right? It does not. Perfect. I'm pretty sure I can't get lethal here, which means I'm pretty sure I have to attack the Elspeth. I wonder if I was supposed to put that on the Ranger of EOS. No, I don't think it makes a difference. Oh, maybe it does because of this token, actually. I am so lucky that they're putting First Strike on everything instead of Lifelink. Oh, I don't... These blocks do not look good for them, do they? This currently does not seem to involve... Yeah, I was gonna say, anything going well. Most of their creatures die. Ooh, okay. I guess looking at this, they actually didn't have good blocks, right? Well, so... They have to double block Benelish Marshall. No, because I've got Selfless Savior. Wow, yeah, that was actually a lot more ahead because of the Maccaeus Luminarch Aspirant thing than I was thinking. Wowsies. Yeah, I think they maybe just had to let the Elspeth die and make no blocks at all. Alright, so Invoke Justice looked pretty reasonable. Managing... Invoke Justice getting back the very good 3-drop that actually is its own sacrifice outlet turned out to be better than I was expecting. Is this keepable? This is kind of medium. Huh. We're on the play, which I think makes me slightly more willing to keep no 1-drop. Maybe that's not true. Alright, I'll keep. I don't know if it's... Right. I probably should have played a Miria's Call on turn 1 there. Alright, now the hand is amazing. Hand too perfect. Can't be held back. Blade of the Oni. Did you play Legion's Landing? No, didn't think so. Am I willing to swing with Phyrexian Missionary and just trade with the Blade, expecting that they won't accept the trade? And then I get to go Charming Prince, Legion's Landing, follow up Benelish Marshal, transform Legion's Landing? Or would I rather just play Benelish Marshal and not give them the option to block? I think we do it this way. I think my hand currently is good enough that I don't need to scry. Would I rather gain 3 life or untap the Missionary? Maybe that's a lie. Maybe I'm supposed to scry. No. I believe in my deck. My deck's too good. No scries needed. We'll gain life to win the race instead. I don't really expect us to race, but... Okay, Evolved Sleeper. Don't care about that. Removal spell. Stopping me from transforming Legion's Landing. I care about that. Really? I don't think this attack is good for you, opponent. Alright. We got a clue. Score another one for Amiria's call not being a downside. Okay, this is good. Am I willing to trade Benelish Marshal for Macaeus? Probably not. So I think that means we're just invoking Justice here. This looks correct. Donk, donk. No good blocks for opponent. Opponent's life total goes too low. Braids don't seem relevant. Okay, we win. Does this gain life somehow? Does any of this stuff gain life somehow? Whatever. Boink. Boink. Boink, 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 boink. Alright. Mono white. Pretty good. Was that 7 wins? My only regret was we didn't get to cast that final copy of History of Benalia.